Which country eats the most pizza? Norway. Which country eats the most eggs? Mexico. Which country eats the most bananas? Uganda. Which country eats the most apples? Turkey. Which country eats the most onions? Libya. Which country eats the most yogurt? Turkey. Which country eats the most watermelon? China. Which country eats the most oranges? Luxembourg. Which country eats the most butter? France. Which country eats the most honey? Central African Republic. Which country eats the most lamb? Mongolia. Which country eats the most mushrooms? China. Which country eats the most cucumbers? Turkey. Which country eats the most olives? Greece. Which country eats the most garlic? China. Which country eats the most tomatoes? Turkey. Which country eats the most peanuts? Sudan. Which country eats the most pineapple? Costa Rica. Which country eats the most avocado? Mexico. Which country eats the most cherries? Turkey.